Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation and healing, and to link arms and journey with you to find purpose and passion in life. Hi, we're back, and we are going to talk about the question, do you feel it's more important to learn or unlearn a lesson?
Ooh.
Amanda, what's our quote?
All right. Life's greatest lessons often lie not in what we learn, but in what we're forced to unlearn about ourselves. So I've always heard in my Christian upbringing that we go through trials and He allows them so that we'll be taught something or we'll learn something. And I have to say, after my second divorce, which actually makes me cringe every single time I say that, after my 42nd divorce, I went on quite the journey of do I need to heal so I don't attract this one more time. Eventually, you have to say to yourself, well, I'm the common denominator to my story. So I did a deep dive and really was looking at, after being in personal development rooms for, 20 years, I felt like, geez, and I still haven't figured out how to have a successful marriage. That's embarrassing. Both of my husbands actually went through personal development courses with me, still couldn't figure it out. So it doesn't mean it's the end all. You still have two humans that absolutely have to choose in at all times. So I dove into two books and they both had workbooks with them. And when I say these books bulldozed my personality, that's an understatement. Like I was completely mortified by what I read in these pages. It was so truth-filled that I had to make a decision. And I ended up pendulum swinging so far to the right, which is kind of what we do. Like even new Christians choose in and they kind of swing really far to the right and they're like not that fun to hang out with. Soapbox-ish sometimes, not everyone. But these two books, I pendulum swung so far to the right because I realized if I didn't get these two things down, I was absolutely going to attract it again. And the two books are Boundaries and How We Love, which is about attachment styles. In the meantime, I took the Myers-Briggs test in the same time period and found out I'm an ENFJ, which is extroversion, intuition, feeling, and judgment. Basically, there's like 2% of us in the world that think the way my brain thinks or emotionally how I show up in the world. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I am an anomaly. And this is why I haven't attracted the person because I didn't have this information. I hate labels, but they really are helpful for us to be able to move forward in an area. Mm-hmm. And so along with that, my attachment style is anxious attachment style, which is an insecure attachment style. So I went down this whole road of identity crisis. It was the biggest ego hell and death that I put myself through. But again, we talked about this last week. It's like, you got to do the work. You got to get quiet and get the tools and the answers from God on what you need to shift on. And He's not going to bring another man into my life until I figure out what I need to heal and what I need to shift. So not only did it pinpoint a few things for me, but I found out that I had the savior complex, which means my love can save a man, which is probably the cockiest thing that you could actually say out loud, by the way. That I was a people pleaser, that I was striving for validation with an anxious attachment style. So basically I was doomed.
But this is reminding me of the book that I'm rereading right now. One of my favorite authors, Matthew Kelly. For anyone who's never read his books, they're phenomenal and they're pretty short, they're pretty easy reads, but they're so powerful. But Perfectly Yourself, he talks a lot about people pleasing in the beginning and about how with parents, you can always be striving for that approval, whether it's picking the career that they might want you to or whatever it is. Luckily, I didn't have any pressure from my parents to go after one career or another. But in other areas of my life, I've realized I'm totally doing that because I feel like I need the approval of whoever it is. Maybe it's a boss or a friend. Just that realization that I'm not pursuing this or I'm not doing these actions because I feel like they're true to who I am, that God created me to be, but for reasons otherwise. And so that takes us out of alignment, and it's a difficult thing to face. And it has been for me over the years. So I just want to recognize that's a common thing. If you feel that way, you're not alone. And it's been written about and it's been talked about many, many times by many, many people, including me.
Yeah, I would add to that. I chose both of my husbands because they said they were a Christian and I believed them. And they didn't have the fruit of what actually that label means. And so I didn't dig any further. I just took them for their word. And I did that because that's what I needed all my friends and family to know, that this is a Christian man. Okay. Well, there should have been questions like addictions and all the stuff. And I was people pleasing and wanting all my friends to be okay with this choice of mine. And that's how I got through my choice. But in the end, you got to do way more research than that, than take someone for their word. You definitely have to get a little more real with what's actually going on. The fruit is very important to look
Yeah.
at.
So if you had been asking questions around your ex's faith based on not people pleasing, but trying to do what's best for you and your relationship with God and the things that truly matter, you probably would have gotten deeper answers, right? That might have affected your decisions.
Well, and also when you're in lust or get married too quickly, like I did the second time, I didn't even leave time to see what you act like in traffic or what you act like when something burns in your kitchen because he was a chef. That's the real stuff. Like you got to take the time to do that. But that's kind of a rabbit trail. But holy crap, no wonder I attracted exactly who I married. Quite frankly, it was doomed from the beginning. And I know that sounds super Eeyore-ish, but I remember being in a counseling session and we did a personality test, and he said, "You two are the most unlikely couple to be together and have absolutely no values and goals in common."
Ooh.
I actually took that information like a challenge. Like, I'm going to
Oh.
make this work. And to anyone who's dating, I would say take the time to ask the hard questions. See if there's fruit. Your values and your morals need to be very closely aligned. And you need to talk about religion and politics. I like to describe it now like, think about if you were locked in your house in COVID lockdown. Is this the person you want to hang out with for 2 straight years and you can't leave your house? Those are the kind of questions, those are the kind of values that you want to actually look into when you're finding a mate.
So you took that as a challenge that you were not compatible, and so you were going to try to make it work. Do you think that that was also maybe people pleasing because you had judgment around divorce? And by golly, I'm not going to let other people down.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up in the place where divorce is not cool.
Mhm.
Like, you shouldn't do it to your kids, you shouldn't do it to yourself. Like, it's devastating. But so is being in a toxic relationship. I mean, there's no way God was okay with how that relationship was going down. And so I eventually got to the point where, like, I'm going to choose out of this because this is not honoring to me at all. And
Mhm.
so do I think divorce is good and okay? No, I hate divorce. And I also get to stand up for myself, stop people pleasing, stop choosing people that I need to fix to make myself feel worthy of being on this earth. You know, my identity was so wrapped up into it. So basically, I needed to unlearn a bunch of crappy identities that I thought made me worthy of love. And let me tell you, it was an absolute refiner's fire, ego death of a lifetime. And I eventually swung back towards the middle. So I can tell you right now, the boundary setting was rough to put into place because as a people pleaser, you care too much about their feelings and you don't care about yours at all. And many said, "Well, you aren't going to have many friends when you're done with this." Well, that's actually the problem, right? Because everyone around me was like-minded and they were people pleasers with no boundaries too. So you're absolutely right. Some friendships changed and some are no longer really close in. And I found that I was surrounded by avoidant attachment style. that makes me anxious. So I just was this little anxious weirdo.
I find that hard to believe, but okay.
It's only with toxic relationships.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you don't realize when you're hanging out with people that are like-minded and then you have a total switch. You don't even realize that, wait, those people are not good for me anymore until you try to have a deeper conversation or you go to a setting where you're yearning for that connection or that just feeling like you're being productive. Like even in a conversation that's productive versus one that's just about nothing. Then to switch that and be with like-minded people that you can have maybe it's discussions about spirituality or values or what meaningful project are you working on right now or just anything that feels like okay, this is more along the lines of how I want to spend my time when I get the choice when I'm by myself. Then you start realizing okay, the people that I used to hang out with aren't serving me and it's difficult, but we talked about it in our last episode. You start removing things that fill up your calendar that you're committed to, but you also stop accepting invitations to be around people, sadly.
yeah.
It's
And you
hard.
can feel like the stress as we talk about this because the stress that goes through as you're recording a podcast is you start visualizing all the people that could possibly be listening to this. And the people pleasing about it all is that I don't want to hurt you. That's not my goal. My goal is to come from love, and me choosing out of a close relationship could change our relationship, or it could cause you to want to make better choices for yourself because you're not willing to lose the relationship. And maybe it will hold you accountable to show up as a different person in our relationship, but I can't be attached to that. Like, I have to hold you capable of doing what works for you as well. Like, I have to honor your boundaries as well.
Also, the flip side of that, the more positive result of this kind of clearing the people and the things in your life that aren't serving you or serving God is that I know I have sought out friendships that are more aligned to those things. So, friendships that previous to doing a lot of self-reflection and personal growth, I probably would not have pursued. But I think it motivates you when you realize I crave that connection and I crave friendship. So I'm going to go seek out friendships that do align well. And so that's the positive, right? You start
Yeah.
replacing it with people and with things or activities that do serve you and serve God.
We talked about it in the last episode. Like when you remove your busyness, your need to be busy, you actually create so much time freedom that you are able to attract these relationships. And when you take the time to write down your values, you actually really will look for these values in people. And when you see them, it's like, hey, we should go on a hike or we should go get coffee or whatever. Also, one of the things that was around my big shift is that I realized as a people pleaser and a savior complex, that was my identity. I found value in that. I realized when I started kind of thinking of all my friendships is the reason I was so stressed out and busy was because I was upkeeping 90% of my relationships. What that meant was if I didn't reach out, the relationship wasn't moving forward. It was a kick-in relationship because I'm the one that reached out every single time. So when I realized that, it was very eye-opening and honestly quite devastating because I stopped. I think I read a quote somewhere around 2020 that said, "Hey, stop reaching out to everyone and see who actually reaches out to you." It was crickets for 2 weeks. I mean, I'm not talking my close people that I talk to several times a week, but it was so devastating. I was like, holy, I am exhausting myself to keep these relationships going, and there's no buy-in. Yes, they're reaping the rewards of me doing all the work, but then it's like, no, I gotta put some boundaries up around my time. And I'm not going to go sign up for your chaos just so I can feel valuable.
Right.
It's just, no, that's not working for me anymore.
Yeah, I'm not good about reaching out, even though I just said I pursued other friendships that I wouldn't have before. And that is true. I need to be better about maintaining relationships that matter a lot to me. I know that that's a weakness of mine just because life gets busy, and that's such an excuse. We've talked about before when you're on your deathbed, regretting dreams. I don't want to regret being too busy for relationships.
I'm looking for fun and easy. When I realize I'm doing all the work in a relationship that I'm the only one reaching out, I really make some different choices because for an anxious personality attachment style, it makes me feel like I'm chasing someone or being annoying. And so when I start going into my anxious attachment style, I have to stop and be like, okay, cool. You respond when you'd like, and I'm going to match your energy. I will not be the one running our relationship.
Yeah, I think that's so important to remember that we've got to trust ourselves. We've talked a lot about spending quiet time. And the more I do that, the more I feel secure in who I am and what God wants me to prioritize and values and beliefs. So the more I know myself, the more secure I am in saying, hey, trust that red flag, trust that feeling. So the fact that you're able to do that and pull away from a person quickly, I think God strengthens us and gives us understanding to be able to do that. So I think that's something to be thankful for.
And I'm not talking about ghosting people or being toxic in any way. And that goes back to transparency. It's having an open, honest conversation like, hey, I feel like when I reach out so much, I'm annoying you. So is that how you're feeling or what's going on in your life? Oh, well, I'm just extremely busy or whatever. Okay, well, that's fine. But eventually I'm going to be radio silent
Hmm.
because that's something that makes me feel anxious. When I'm not given a response for a week, it's kind of like, oh, cool. Well, I'll be a priority when you feel like making me one, you know?
Yeah.
So, and not in a, I'm going to make you pay, but it's just cool. I need to start spending my energy somewhere else in a place that is fulfilling for me as well.
Being taught that we've got to be kind at the sacrifice of our own self, that's hard to unlearn. So it feels uncomfortable to do that
Yeah.
sometimes, but I think that goes back to, again, setting boundaries and honoring yourself. We have to do it. I don't think other people are going to do that for us.
No, and you can see it in your behavior when you catch yourself being passive aggressive and resistant and revengeful in your comments or your dealings with whoever we're talking about, the person that you are not feeling super connected to, then that's an indicator, right? That's being self-aware. That's an indicator of, oh man, I'm pretty sarcastic and passive aggressive. So something's going on there. So now I need to have a transparent conversation, put everything out on the table. Man, I'm someone who puts everything out on the table because I've learned as an anxious attachment style, if I'm putting a boundary down, I need them to know every single thing that I am feeling about our relationship so that in the future, if they never choose back in, I know I have said everything that I've wanted to say to that person. Like they don't have any question on how I feel about them. But if I'm never reached out to again, I feel clean and clear with the conversation because I was so transparent about my feelings.
Great.
So we're talking about unlearning. I have to unlearn so many things in just relationships with men so that I'm not recreating the same scenario again. And the reason I had to set those boundaries so harshly at the beginning was because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust that I could actually choose well for myself. And now that I have kept my word to myself and my boundaries, now I have the confidence to say, no, I am worth all of this and more. And when I look at your values and how you're showing up in our relationship, not you,
Right. You.
then I can honestly come from a place of, yeah, that doesn't really meet my values. And I'm worth having all of that. And so maybe we shouldn't move forward. Or maybe you'll figure out that you want to shift your values because you really don't want to lose this relationship. Cool, let's grow together. Let's transparently talk this all out together and have a kick butt relationship. Basically, it comes down to, do I have 100 friends still? No. I'm down to a very, very small group of humans that know anything about me, really. I've found great contentment and peace because I'm no longer attracted to chaos. I'm attracted to love, calmness, kindness, peaceful, and groundedness now. And if someone is choosing not to have that be their priority, then we're probably not going to hang. So I feel like this quote serves me really well because I believe he is more committed to our character and not our comfort. If that is true, then the trials that we come up against, which are going to happen no matter what, they'll be looked at more from the place of having a different response around them instead of being triggered by everything.
Mhm.
So I unlearn that reaction.
It's hard to do, but I think that's where we have to draw strength from God, praying all the time,
Yeah.
like, help me not react the same way, or help me not accept certain behaviors that I used to accept that made me feel unworthy or unvaluable or whatever it may be.
Yeah, you're unlearning the knee-jerk behavior. And once you heal whatever that trigger is, there's literally no energy on it anymore. I can have some family members that used to trigger me all the time because I allowed it, because I chose that they weren't for me and they were against me, or whatever story I made up in my head. Now I can just be like, cool, that was an awesome statement. And what are we doing for dinner?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and let that one pass because I don't want to even lose any joy right now because I'm just really choosing joy.
Yeah. Or like the feeling of what's the acronym I'm thinking of? FOMO. The feeling of missing out, oh, this event's happening. And if you're not there, then who are you? That used to bother me or make me feel guilty, like, oh, I should go. But now I have no feeling of sadness around it or guilt. It's just funny when you really get to know yourself again, going back to that quiet time. It's a lot easier because you don't have the negative feelings around something that used to trigger you a lot, because you
Yeah.
know what does motivate you, or what does feel positive, or what does bring you peace or joy. And you felt that. We talked about in our last episode, you haven't stayed busy to where you can't figure that out and you don't know what it feels like. You do know what it feels like now, and you love the feeling. And so anything opposite of that, or that brings you opposite feelings of that, you're not going to chase or want to feel anymore.
You know what that term's called? This made me laugh so hard when I saw this meme, but it's called JOMO, joy of missing out.
Ah, there you go. So instead of FOMO, maybe you'll start feeling JOMO. I like that word, JOMO.
Like, enjoy missing out because you know that wasn't actually going to serve you in any way.
Yeah.
Or you're not hanging out with the petty talk or the gossip, all the stuff that doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
It's so great to come to this realization. It's not easy to do.
Being a part of gossip, that brings stress. And to your point, it's chaos. I no longer seek that, because the opposite is peace and joy, which feels so much better and so much more
Yeah.
aligned to God's will.
Well, plus you're totally out of integrity to be in gossip. But also, when you hear one of your friends talk about someone else, you can't deny that that is possibly something they're saying about you behind your back. If you're being a part of gossip, then you must be okay with people not trusting you behind their back.
When something is being said about someone else, kind of change the subject or whatever.
For
So,
sure.
like you said, being in integrity, that feels so much better than participating or buying into it.
Yeah, I'm like the quoting queen today. But there's something out there like, I'm not more worried about the gossip. I'm worried about how they felt comfortable going to you with the gossip.
Mm.
You actually allowed that to happen instead of stopping it. I
You to
should speak
be,
from I allowed that conversation to happen instead of stopping it.
for whatever reason, they felt like you were an open invitation to gossip too.
Yes.
So again, self-reflection. Why is that?
Yeah. So basically, we're going to keep attracting the same thing over and over until we decide to unlearn or stop the desire to keep creating that. And to scrape down to the false beliefs, the false things that we've learned through trials, and untether from their false meanings and just accept and choose gratefulness for our new response so that we're not repeating that trial over and over and over. We're actually at choice. So, no, I don't actually believe God gives me trials so that I can build my character. I believe I've attracted these to me because of my attitude toward life. And now I don't attract the same stuff that I used to attract. I do not attract chaos anymore. In fact, when I feel chaos, I actually move myself out of the space because I'm not going to be a part of it. So if you want to give up the identities that we've talked about, they're prevalent. You will have so much time to yourself. And also, what that means is you will have so much time to heal yourself. And I really, really hope that we support someone in doing that work. Anyone who's listening, just one person to doing the work, you will be so thrilled and proud of yourself.
In the beginning of this podcast, I had said it's really hard to do to remove people or remove activities, but I kind of want to rephrase that. It's hard to do from a people pleasing standpoint because, like you said, you don't want to
Yeah.
hurt people. That part's hard.
Yeah.
But it's easy to do if you're truly after joy and peace. Nothing feels more natural than to get rid of things that don't. So if it sounds scary, just remember that's the canceling out and the balance of it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And it's like, what are you more committed to?
Yeah.
If I'm committed to joy and peace and contentment, it's just going to naturally fall out of your calendar.
Or even I think about over the past few years, I have found so much more time for passion projects, like this being one of them.
Yes.
And I feel so much better, and I'll use the word again, productive, when I put my time towards doing things that use my talents, my gifts, and serve God's greater purpose. So even little things like they don't even have to involve other people. I think I said it in our intro episode. I do love a good documentary and certain movies, but I don't watch endless TV because it just
Yeah.
doesn't feel aligned to where I'm headed and where I want to go.
Oh man, when I want to do a pity party, total downward spiral, I will watch rom-coms and all the stuff, that just tells me once again, I'm still not where I want to be in this area.
Mhm.
You're absolutely right. And I do have time freedom and creativity to choose into this project to actually write and create good content. And I can't do that if I'm surrounded by people that are chaotic
Mhm.
and choosing to be negative or they drain the life out of me.
Mhm.
And that is self-honoring to choose yourself so that your gifts can flourish.
To put towards things that matter.
Yeah.
So we talked about, or you mentioned how if you don't learn or unlearn from something, you'll have repeated trials over and over until you get it, which that's a scary thought to me. Just coming up against the same thing. You mentioned it throughout the podcast. You had to get it right. Like you had to go to the extreme after learning about your personality so
Yeah.
that you didn't make the same choices again. So that's motivating to me.
Sure. And I can stop blaming it on God for giving me all these trials, these repetitive trials, because I'm still not getting it. Now I can take full personal responsibility and say, I attracted all of that. And now I want to unlearn who I was that attracted that. And now I'm learning these new qualities to attract more, better, different.
Awesome. So, yes, great conversation. Let's look at some journaling for people to focus on this week. Number one, are you happy with what you are attracting in your life? Secondly, do you agree you are the common denominator of your life and your choices have gotten you here today? And lastly, are you willing to do a deep dive into why you are attracting what you are?
Those should be some great questions to discuss on our Facebook page. And if you aren't on there, get on there because we are building it up with like-minded individuals that can support each other in these things that we talk about. So that if you want to switch out your whole friendship circle, you absolutely could.
That's probably one of the easier things you could do because it's so impersonal. Like, what social media groups do you belong to that maybe aren't serving your
Yes.
and God's greater purpose, right? Like, start deleting those.
Yes. Yeah. Really look at what is infiltrating your life on every level, music, people you follow, YouTube, all that.
Something that you said sparked a memory. Recently, at my church, we had a day for the kids, and there was singing and a Bible lesson. And one of the songs they sang was, "Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear." And the song leader made the point, you can't unsee things you've seen. So just like you were saying, removing the music that you're getting infiltrated with or the videos or, whatever it is, it'll stick with you. And I know that. We all know that. Things just pop up in your head and you can't forget it. Or even after reading the news and horrendous stories, can't unsee it. So
Yeah.
being in control and making choices about what you see, you get to choose what influences you and making sure that that's aligned with God's purpose for your life. That's huge.
Yeah. It's massive.
Well, another great discussion.
Hopefully you got some ahas and some things to ponder and really journal about and get quiet with God on.
Yes, quiet time. Okay, I think that wraps us up for today. Thank you all.
Thanks for listening. Catch you next week. Thanks for joining us today. We know your time is valuable and we hope you have a phenomenal week.
Until our next episode, find more content and social links at stillwithpurpose.com.